The first scream wasn't from a person, it was from the bus itself. Metal doesn't usually have a voice, but ours did, a deep metallic groan that turned into a digitized yelp, like an audio file being stretched too far. I was in the fifth row with my backpack on my lap, earbuds in, listening to lo-fi while the driver argued with a blinking traffic light. The sky outside had the color of old gum. We were late for school, and I was halfway through composing a text to my friend Mia about how the universe owed me 2 more hours of sleep when the road opened like a mouth. I don't mean a pothole. I mean a perfect, shimmering rectangle, edged by neon blue, like someone placed a Roblox portal exactly where the intersection used to be. Pixels floated off the edges like glitter. The traffic light snapped into a floating yellow cube that read, "Script error. Light behavior is not a valid member of intersection." That's when the bus sighed again and the floor under my shoes softened. Not like carpet, more like sand turning into jelly. The driver, Mr. Stan, retired boxer, favorite phrase, "We roll," yanked the wheel and yelled, "Everybody hold." We didn't get the on. Gravity forgot us. We slid forward, then down, then in. The windshield cracked into perfect squares that peeled away and tumbled like glass confetti. Outside, the city blurred into a grid. Buildings with their skins off, revealing wireframes, hidden anchors, and skyboxes like wallpaper hung crooked. My stomach flipped so hard I nearly left it in the old reality. I squeezed the seat with my nails, and the vinyl changed under my fingers to a texture I recognized from 100 late-night sessions, studded plastic. The seats were becoming base plates. Mia's hand found my sleeve. "Tell me you see that," she whispered. "I see all of that," I said, because how do you choose one detail when your world is being eaten by geometry? The portal was silent, calm, like an aquarium window. It didn't feel evil. It felt logged in. Then came the sound, the tragic, goofy oof of a Roblox death. Except nobody had died yet. The bus tilted nose first, and we drifted through. We didn't crash. We spawned. The bus landed with a thud that bounced 3 times, rubber chicken style, and settled. The windows were now open frames. The glass had disappeared. The aisle carpet had been replaced by long, perfect studs. Our wheels were blocky cylinders. Mr. Stan's steering wheel had a comically tiny horn that said honk, floating over it. He pressed it anyway. A speech bubble popped above his head. "Honk honk, I am driving." He stared at it like it had betrayed him. "Is this a prank?" A sophomore in the back shouted. His torso rotated separately from his legs, and he yelped. "Why are my legs attached right?" Mia pointed at the window. "Don't look now, but I think the city followed us." Outside was an enormous lobby, not like any school lobby, but the kind with 1,000 portals on floating pillars. Each portal pulsed with a thumbnail, obbies with lava floors, tycoons with smiling cash icons, horror games with red text and poor lighting. The sky was a pale dome with a faint watermark, // textures/sky/skybox. Our bus had landed on a platform labeled Public Transport, Beta. Next to the platform stood an NPC in a bright neon vest, enormous smile painted on his square face, and a clipboard that was just a flat UI panel hovering near his hand. He waved with frightening enthusiasm. "Welcome, citizen commuters," he said, voice text-to-speech smooth. A tutorial arrow hovered above his head. Another bubble appeared. "Press E to interact." No one moved. Then Tyler, self-appointed class clown, stood, swaggered down the aisle, and leaned out the window. "Hey, blockhead, where are we?" The NPC blinked the exact same blink twice. "You are in Transit Hub V3. 2. Your route encountered a deprecated API. Please accept this complimentary cookie." He spawned a cookie the size of his head and tried to hand it to Tyler through the air. The cookie hit the invisible collision boundary of the bus and bounced. The NPC laughed, a canned laugh track. The platform trembled. All our heads snapped left. A group of avatars ran by in a pack, bouncing as if gravity was set to 0. 9. One wore a giant duck head. Another had a treadmill for a torso. The one leading them, a tall, shadowy thing whose body was made of brackets, stacked into a human shape, paused. It didn't have a face, but I knew it was looking straight at me. "I think," Mia said, "that thing knows you." "I think," I whispered, "that thing doesn't have eyes." And then, she said, swallowing, Why does it look like it's not looking at us? But at you. I finished, and the shadow bracket avatar twitched. It raised one empty arm and drew a square in the air, and the square stretched into a doorway that showed my bus seat. Not now, before. Me hunched over my phone, composing my text. It was like he had recorded the moment we slipped. I wanted to scream, but then the NPC stepped forward, blocking the view. Please do not interact with unmoderated entities, he chirped. They are undergoing audit. He pulled a yellow caution tape out of his pocket, a perfectly straight line of pixels, and tried to tape the air. It fell right through. The bracket thing shivered, then stepped backward into its own portal and closed it like a polite elevator. Mr. Stan stood and dusted his hands. Little gray triangles bounced off like VFX. All right, he said, each word in its own speech bubble. We roll back. How? Someone asked. We reverse, he said, and tugged the gear shift, which now had labels. Forward, backward, reset. He chose backward. Nothing happened. He chose reset. The bus briefly exploded into parts and snapped back together. Everyone screamed, then laughed because it felt like a magic trick. I didn't laugh. The platform's edge was getting closer to the bus without the bus moving. The platform itself was scrolling. The NPC frowned. Apologies. The hub is experiencing server drift. He leaned in. The algorithm is hungry today. What algorithm? I started, and then the platform ended. The bus slid. No, glided. Off the edge, and there was nothing but void below, a white-gray emptiness that made my teeth ache. Then, with the inevitability of a loading bar, a new platform generated under us, rising like an elevator. It was a street. Not a real street. Our street. With my school at the end of it. But simpler, cleaner, the shadows too crisp, the trees duplicated every 5 meters like an overzealous copy-paste. A banner hovered over the school. New update. Classroom maze, limited time. Mia squeezed my arm. If this is a dream, I'm going to sue my subconscious. The bus rolled itself forward. No engine, no driver input. Like it had accepted a pathfinding goal. We passed houses that belonged to nobody. Doors that opened onto flat images of living rooms. An old woman waved, her arm looping the same 3 frames. Tyler waved back. She popped a thumbs up and despawned with a faint poof. The road to the school was lined with cones. The cones had eyes. Hey, Mia said, too calmly. Those cones are looking at us. One blinked. A text appeared above it. Surprised face. Then it opened like a maw and spat a fountain of confetti, tiny oof, faces in gold. Then closed and returned to normal. The driver braked, or tried to. The pedals sank and came back up like a spring. The bus was on rails. The school gates were taller, colder, a little too shiny. The sign didn't say Lincoln High. It said, Lincoln High Hard Mode. Students were streaming in, some real, some not. Half of them moved with the weird glide of avatars, the other half with messy human gait. A crossing guard NPC stood with a stop sign that read stop. He waved us through. The bus lurched to a stop beside the entrance and opened its doors. No air hissed. Just a square shape whooshed aside with a satisfying click. Everyone off, Mr. Stan said. Nobody moved. Then, I still don't know why, I stood. Maybe because the bracket thing had looked at me, and I wanted to look back. Maybe because the hub had felt like an airport, and airports mean arrivals and departures, and I wanted to depart from fear. My sneakers thunked onto the studs. I expected an achievement pop-up. Touch grass, virtual. It didn't come. The hallway inside the school was familiar at first glance. The trophy case, the stale popcorn smell from the theater club, but then the walls peeled back to reveal long corridors that didn't exist before. The map on the wall had an overlay. Find your class. Beware the maze. Red arrows led in contradictory directions. A janitor NPC wandered by, pushing a broom that didn't touch the floor. Good morning, player. He sang. Would you like a tutorial on fear? No thanks, I said too quickly. Too bad. He pressed a button on the broom. The lights dropped to blue. The lockers stuttered into tall stone slabs. From somewhere to our left, something laughed. A chorus of childlike giggles chopped and spliced into minor chords. The janitor beamed. Atmosphere intensifies. I turned to Mia. We stay together, I said, and she nodded. Behind us, some kids finally filed off the bus, Tyler announcing to no one in particular that he was speedrunning English class. We followed the arrows and they led us to a door that hadn't been there yesterday. Class 2B, Labyrinth. The door handle was a low-poly loop you could grab and rotate like a puzzle piece. I twisted. It spun 10 times and the door banged open onto a room that stretched forever. Desks were islands in a sea of checkerboard floor. Above us, a skybox of fluorescent panels buzzed. In the far distance, a teacher wrote on a blackboard. The chalk squealed in 8-bit. It took me a full 5 seconds to realize the teacher had no face. Not a blank face. No face. Just smooth skin like a rubber eraser. It turned toward us and a text appeared in the air. Today's objective: survive the lesson. Mia exhaled. I am so awake right now. We took 2 steps in, and the door slammed shut behind us with a noise like a Minecraft chest. Wrong game, same dread. The desks shifted, grinding, closing like jaws. The faceless teacher planted the chalk into the board so hard it pierced it, and the board split down the middle to reveal a tunnel lined with teeth. Then a second noise cut through the dread, absurd and tiny, a fart honk. Tyler. He had found a whoopee cushion prop and was squeezing it like a life raft. The faceless teacher whipped around, no face, still terrifying, and wrote in the air, detention. A trapdoor snapped open under Tyler, and he fell with a yodeling yeet, landing on a trampoline far below and bouncing up with confetti. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The fear cracked like ice. The desks started to move again, sliding into mazes that rearranged themselves, walls of chair legs and textbook piles. Mia grabbed my sleeve and pointed. Look, she said. On the far wall, above the tooth tunnel, a small portal shimmered. Not blue, not neon. A gray blue that felt familiar. The bracket thing stood inside it, just beyond, as if behind a window. It raised a hand. The portal stretched, widening, and I saw something new. Within the gray blue, past the bracket avatar, a dim reflection of my own room. My desk. My laptop asleep. A hoodie in a heap. The portal was a window to home. I think, Mia said, voice flat with awe and terror, that's our way back. The faceless teacher stabbed a pointer into the floor. No leaving during instruction glowed above her. She pointed at me. A text appeared. Student selected you. The pointer extended like a selfie stick and snaked toward my chest. I ducked, stumbled, grabbed a desk for balance, and the desk made the click from placing a block. My feet found studs to climb. We scrambled up onto the desktop. Below us, a set of textbook spines rearranged into a staircase. The game wasn't just trying to trap us. It was giving us a path, like it wanted us to play. Go, Mia said, and we went. We ran across the desks, jumping the gaps, our shoes clacking. The faceless teacher glided, pointer snapping at our ankles. At one jump my foot caught, and I pitched forward, arms windmilling. I hit the next desk belly first, and my backpack bounced off, zipping open as if a UI toggled. My algebra book flew out, spun in the air, and reappeared with a glow, +5 brain. I almost laughed again, then remembered the bracket thing watching. How long had it been watching us? Since the light went error? Since the first night I stayed up making maps and wishing I could pour my life into a grid that made more sense? We made it halfway to the portal, and then the desks shifted into a narrow bridge. Mia glanced down and grimaced. Below us, the floor had become a pit of letters, essay fragments, text messages, chat logs, whirling like leaves. My text to her from this morning spun by. This light is broken again, LOL. Then my older messages, late night you up, and you still on? And should we try my obby idea? My cheeks burned. The game wasn't just making levels. It was making mirrors. We reached the wall. The portal hovered just out of reach. The bracket thing extended its arm. It didn't speak, but a text bloomed. Almost there. Then smaller text beneath it, flickering like debug logs. Target acquired. Target. I wrapped my fingers around Mia's wrist. Ladies first. I tried to joke, but my mouth was dry. She shook her head. We jumped together. We jumped. Our fingers barely brushed the portal's edge. A cold shock raced up my arm, like sticking your hand into an ice bucket. The faceless teacher hissed. How does a no-face hiss? The pointer smacked the wall inches from my face. Something exploded. I blinked, and we were in a new space. A hallway stretched to forever again, But this one was less school and more server room. Racks on racks of glowing cubes. Each cube showed a tiny loop of our lives. Me biking, Mia laughing milk out her nose, Mr. Stan in the driver mirror doing bicep curls with a thermos. The bracket thing stood at the end, bigger now. Text spilled over its head like rain. Sentinel moderator? Glitch. Unknown. I'm not talking to that, Mia said. A door slid open to our right. Inside, a cafeteria. Not ours. A tycoon cafeteria, with conveyor belts and money stacks, upgrades plus $10 popping over trays of Polygon pizzas. A kid in a giant bacon hair hat slid past on a skateboard and tossed us 2 sodas. Boost, he said, and vanished into a wall. I cracked mine and drank. One heartbeat I was scared. The next, I was also burping a bubble that said plus speed. We darted back into the hallway. The Sentinel didn't move like a person. It moved like code reflowing. It extended its bracket arm again, and the air between us pixelated. And this is the worst part. It felt like he was selecting me. Like a mouse dragging a marquee box around a file to copy-paste. My skin prickled. The soda can crumpled in my hand and became a coil of text, while true do wait, 0. 1. If player equals you then. I hurled the coil at the Sentinel. It went right through. The Sentinel wrote a new portal in the wall, quick, casual, like an artist sketching. On the other side, the bus. Our bus. Empty. Idling, without an engine. I lunged. Mia grabbed my shoulder. Look, she said, and pointed at another portal. This one showed the transit hub again, but not as it had been. NPCs were frozen midwave. The tutorial arrow was stuck halfway through its bounce. At the edge of the hub, a slow ripple crept along the platform, converting it into gray. The kind of gray you see before the world loads. The algorithm was eating its own lobby. If we leave now, I said, what happens to them? I don't know why I asked. Conscience is inconvenient. So is curiosity. The Sentinel twitched. A tiny, misaligned smile icon flickered in its chest, like an emote trapped under skin. A text sparkled. Observation complete. Complete what? The word hung there. I thought about the first moment the light failed and the bus moaned. I thought how, as much as I was terrified, part of me felt relief. The world had rules again. Jump here, climb there. Solve the puzzle, get a reward. School didn't give you that. Just a list of things you should be that you aren't yet. This place was honest about being a game. But games have winners and losers. And someone had built a maze around us with my name taped to it. Fine, I said, and turned away from the bus portal. We go forward. Mia stared. Forward into what? The maze, I said, surprising myself with how steady I sounded. We find the script that's doing this. We shut it off. Or on. Or whatever. We ran. The hallway branched into 3. The middle branch was labeled admin. The left said shop, cosmetic only. The right said lore. I hate that we need to go into lore, Mia muttered, and we swerved right. Lore was a library of floating cubes, each with a thumbnail on its face. We tapped one, my bedroom again, but empty, time-lapse clouds rolling outside. Another, a memory of the first time Mia and I logged into Roblox together, both avatars default noobs, both laughing too loud at our clumsy jump timing. A third, Mr. Stan in his empty apartment, practicing lines in a mirror. We roll. We roll. I looked away. People deserve their private chapters. But the library didn't care. It had categorized us all. At the center of lore, there was a pedestal. On it sat an object that didn't belong to Roblox's cartoony language. A real object, or near enough. A paperback book, cover creased, pages dog-eared. It was my notebook. The one where I sketched obby layouts and story ideas and dumb jokes I never told. I reached for it, and my hand passed through. A prompt appeared. Would you like to make a copy? Don't, Mia said. It's bait. Everything's bait, I said, but pulled my hand back. The pedestal sank. The floor rearranged. The book turned into a glowing node that sent a thin line of light down a corridor marked admin. We followed it. Admin was colder. A voice, no, not a voice, a system notification, welcomed us. Unauthorized access. The corridor ended at a wide room with a circular console, a pillar of data rising from the middle like a waterfall made of text, object IDs, positions, players. On the far side, chillingly casual, a row of buttons, kick, ban, shut down. and between them, a tiny, unlabeled square. The sentinel was here, too, perched on the data like a gargoyle. It tilted its bracket head and then did something that ruptured my sense of reality more than anything else today. It bowed. A tiny UI crown appeared above its head and blinked out. "Do you think it respects us?" Mia asked. "I think it's pretending to," I said, because I didn't want to admit the other thing I felt, that it saw me. Not as a snack, not as prey, as a player. I walked up to the console. Words crawled over my hands like ants. The unlabeled square pulsed when I touched it, then opened a little pop-up. "Apply hotfix?" "Yes," I said, and pressed it before I could think better. The lights flickered. Somewhere distant, 1,000 doors closed at once. The data waterfall stuttered. The sentinel jerked, like a puppet whose strings had been yanked. A message bloomed across the entire room. "Hotfix deployed. Merge real/sim layers reduced to 5%. The school around us, if you could still call it that, wobbled. The stone lockers rippled and showed metal again. The checkered floors smoothed. The bus portal brightened. And at the same time, somewhere else, the hub, maybe, stabilized. I could feel the algorithm's hunger back off, like a dog told to sit. "Did we just fix it?" Mia said. Behind me, the ban button flashed red, tempting as a big red candy. The kick button flashed blue. The shutdown button simmered. I reached toward none of them, and instead looked for an exit. There wasn't one. But the wall behind the console had become glass, and on the other side was the transit hub, NPCs unfrozen, arrow bouncing again in dorky optimism. The vest guy waved. "Transit restored," he chirped silently. The sentinel stood very still. Then it turned its head, the brackets rotating with a smooth, frightening grace, toward us, toward me, and typed one sentence into the air. And then I realized he wasn't looking at me, but at you. The words hung there, plain and cruel. My stomach dropped. Because it didn't mean me. It meant you. The you watching. The you reading. The both of us that make a we. The bus hadn't been swallowed randomly. It had been curated. The light had failed because someone wanted to see what we'd do if our world and our games leaked into each other. The sentinel wasn't hunting exactly. It was studying. "Let's go," Mia said, voice small, and I nodded. We doubled back through lore, past our private scenes we didn't look at, down the hallway, across the classroom, Maze now softened back into rows and board size. The faceless teacher had a face now, tired and kind. She wrote actual words on the board. Homework, reflection. I almost laughed. We ran past Tyler recounting his trampoline adventure to a circle of kids who pretended not to be impressed. We ran to the bus. "Mister." Stan had his hands on the wheel like he could force the world to behave by holding it hard enough. "You coming?" he said. And for a second, I saw the jitters in his shoulders. The man who'd been brave for us since the first moment this started. "We're coming," I said, and stepped onto the studs. The bus doors shut with a comic click. The gear shift now had a fourth option. Home. Mr. Stan didn't hesitate. He tapped it. The bus lifted, the world blurred. A dozen portals opened and closed around us like shutters. I grabbed the seat in front of me and held on like it could tether me to something. We slid back into the intersection where the traffic light used to be. The light was there again, dumb and green. The windshield was glass. The seats were cracked vinyl. My phone buzzed, finally sending the text I'd failed to send at the beginning. "This light is broken again, LOL. The timestamp was the same. We hadn't lost time. Or maybe time had decided not to lose us. We rolled forward. Mr. Stan said nothing. The bus was quiet in the way classrooms are after a fire drill. Overhead, the fluorescent hum sounded blessedly analog. I checked my messages. Mia was already typing. "You good?" She sent. "Not really," I wrote. "You?" "Also not really," she said. "Did you see?" She stopped. 3 dots. Then, "Did you see the last sentence?" I looked out the window. The reflection showed my face, and, for a breath, something else. A faint bracket, like a shadow that hadn't decided if it belonged. I blinked. It was gone. Yeah, I typed. I saw it. I put my phone away and tried to decide what fear feels like after you press apply hotfix. It doesn't go away. It sits down beside you, buckles in, and looks out the window with you at the same world you had this morning, now wearing a secret. I thought of the sentinel bowing. I thought of the unlabeled square. I thought of how this had all felt curated for an audience. For us, but not just us. For you. At the next stop, The doors opened. An old man got on, not an NPC, a human with eyes like spilled ink. He scanned his transit card, which beeped with a clean physical chirp. He shuffled past, and for one heartbeat his shadow on the floor wasn't a normal shadow. It was a pair of brackets. Then the bus moved, and his shadow was boring again, and the breath I didn't realize I was holding emptied on its own. We rode the last blocks feeling like thieves who had stolen an hour of reality back from something that deserved it more. At school, the sign just said Lincoln High. No hard mode. Inside, the map on the wall was a fire escape plan. No maze. The janitor nudged a real broom across a real floor and hummed something off-key. He winked at us like he recognized our sprint. Atmosphere restored. He murmured, and I decided not to ask. We went to class. The bell rang with its dull clang. I sat, wrote my name on the top of a worksheet, and the word name flickered in my head like a UI label. I pressed my pencil so hard the point snapped. Mia looked at me. We both smiled too big. And that's when the overhead speaker crackled and delivered a message that nobody else reacted to, like only I could hear it. Hotfix scheduled, the speaker whispered. Merge real/sim layers, 10%. I stared at the speaker. It stared back, indifferent, a square in a beige ceiling tile. Beside me, Mia drew a tiny portal in the margin of her paper, then drew a bus halfway through it and doodled stick people screaming. Her stick me had big eyes. Her sticker had bigger ones. Above them, she wrote, "We roll." I wanted to believe we were safe now, that we pressed the right button and the world listened. But hotfixes aren't endings. They're promises. They say, this will be better for now. I raised my hand to ask to go to the bathroom, to splash water on my face, and ask my reflection to choose one world. The teacher called on me. I stood, and as I turned, the classroom clock ticked forward. The second hand didn't move like a normal second hand. It jumped in clean increments. Click, 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 like frames. In the hallway, someone laughed. The laugh was human, then robotic, then human again. I walked into the bathroom and splashed water and watched the ripples settle into a perfect grid before dissolving. When I looked up, for the smallest split second, the person in the mirror wasn't me. It was my avatar, default smile pasted on my mouth, waving like an old friend who's learned my timing. I blinked and it was just me again. On my way back to class, I passed the trophy case. My reflection in it lagged by a half second. An invisible tutorial arrow tried to hover above my head, failed, sputtered, and vanished. And then my phone buzzed one more time. An unknown number. No contact, no profile pic. Just a message that was not a message. Hello? I didn't answer. I slid the phone back into my pocket, sat down, finished my worksheet, and stared at the clock. I pretended it was boring. I pretended none of it had happened. After school, the bus doors opened with a hiss that wasn't a hiss, more of a polite whoosh. I climbed aboard and sat in the fifth row. Mr. Stan glanced at me in the mirror and flexed a little, like a ritual. We rolled. The traffic light up the road turned yellow smoothly, no blinking, no errors. It went red. We stopped. A person on the corner in a hoodie adjusted their backpack. Just a person, but their shadow? For a second, it was brackets again. Then the sun shifted, and it was normal. Mia caught my eye and mouthed, "You see that?" I nodded. She mouthed back, "We roll." We turned left. The road was just a road. But as we pulled away, behind us, reflected in the rear window, a faint shimmer crossed the intersection like heat haze. If you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't see it. If you were, you'd never stop seeing it again. I don't know if the Sentinel wants to scare us, or recruit us, or teach us. I don't know if the hub is stable, if the algorithm is sated. I don't know whether we pressed the right button, or just the first one. I know only this. When the bus moaned and the road opened, I thought we were being swallowed. Now I think maybe we were being invited. To what? I'm afraid I already know. So if, tomorrow, your bus makes a sound no bus should make, and your street becomes a grid, and your life turns into a level with a checkpoint and a blinking arrow that says press ETO interact, you'll remember this. When you feel it looking your way, don't assume it's me I'm talking about when I say he isn't looking at me, but at you. Because the portal doesn't just choose. It reflects. And if you've ever secretly wished your world had rules you could see and edges you could touch and monsters you could outrun by learning their patterns, well, you might already hear the click that means the hotfix took. For now.